Welcome everyone. We're just waiting for participants to connect. We had just over 30 registrations, so we'll wait a couple of minutes to make sure everyone can connect before getting started. Hello everyone. I can see there's 15 participants just now, so 50% of registration people just now, so we'll wait a bit more. And as you join us, if you click on the chat box, you'll see the Klaxoon link. So you can click on that link to get ready for the interactive session and connect to Klaxoon. Even though we won't start with the interactive session, that will make it easier when we reach that stage of the meeting today. So we are 24 just now. Maybe we'll wait another minute or two. And so for those who just joined, Jennifer posted in the chat box the link for the Klaxoon app. So that's the app we're going to be using for the interactive session. If you can click on that link just now, so then you can connect to the app and you will be ready when we will do the interactive session. So that saves time for later. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's any new participant joining us. So because we have quite a lot to cover today, I suggest that we start. I think yeah, I think we can start just now. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So this is our second workshop on developing a methodology to support companies with structuring and implementing ambitious low carbon strategies. So this workshop today aims at gathering your feedback and opinion on key aspects of the progress monitoring tool and the step-by-step methodology. Like the first one, your contribution is very appreciated and your participation is also a good opportunity to understand more about the ACT step-by-step methodology and more generally about climate accountability for corporates. So this development work will last until early January 2021. It is led by ADEME, the French Agency for Ecological Transition, with support from consortium of 3 consultancies. And we will do a short intro for our panelists today. And as we introduce ourselves, it would be great if you could put your name, surname, and your organization in the chat box so then everyone can see who is on our meeting today. So I'll start. I'm Lisa Bertrand from ADEM, and I lead the work on business development for the ACT initiative. And my colleague, Edouard Fourdrin will introduce himself.
Thanks, Lisa. Hello, everybody. So my name is Edouard Fourdrin. I've worked for ADEM and especially for the ACT initiative for now almost 4 years. And I'm involved in the methodology development of this ACT initiative, but also in the French voluntary program for French actors.
Hello, everybody. Rémi Marcus, Eco Initiative, and I'm the project manager on the consulting team side for this development project.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Meyer from Eco2 Initiative, and I will be facilitating the interactive sessions on Klaxon today and for the next workshops.
Lisa, on ne t'entend pas. Can't hear you. The microphone is off.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry. So thank you everyone for your introduction and putting your name and surname into the chat box. That's great for everyone to know who joined us today. So for this meeting, we will provide a short summary of the ACT step-by-step methodology development, and we will present the ACT step-by-step monitoring tool and the process as we have it outlined in the preparatory study. And then there will be time for question and answer. So you can type your question into the chat box, and Edouard will then moderate when we will have our question and answer session time. We will have 2 interactive sessions on both those topics, the diagnosis and monitoring tool and the process of the ACT step-by-step methodology. So this meeting is recorded, and we will send you the slide as well as the link, so then you can share the replay version or you can watch the replay version later. So a short introduction about the ACT step-by-step methodology development context. So the ACT assessments provide recommendations to companies to align their strategy with their individual low carbon pathways. And when a company do an assessment, it will get a result, which is a rating and a feedback report. And the rating can be used by investors, policymakers, or NGO to make investment decisions, design impactful policies, or raise public awareness. But on the other end, there is a need for methodology for companies to structure and understand how to develop, deploy, and improve low carbon strategy, and then to implement assessment recommendation and increase their ACT ratings. So there we have the ACT step-by-step methodology needs. And it is seen as a progress standard that can take a couple of years from development to implementation for companies, whereas an ACT assessment can take around 5 days from data collection to completion of the feedback report. And between an ACT step-by-step and an ACT assessment, we can see that there might be an iterative cycle. So we can go from progress and support to an assessment and then go back to improvement with the progress step-by-step methodology. Like we said before, a preparation study was conducted earlier this year. And we talked about the objective before, which were to develop that methodology and the practical resources and tools associated with the methodology. And we also wanted to involve interested parties in the development process, which is why we're having those workshops. So the ACT step-by-step approach is based on the 9 strategic levers identified in the ACT assessments methodology. So there's a clear link between those 2 different types of methodology within the ACT framework. And each module includes few indicators, and those indicators are the basis for the 6 steps that you can see on the right-hand side of this slide. So those 6 steps are the basis for the improvement process of the ACT step-by-step methodology. So the ACT step-by-step methodology development project includes 8 workshops. This one is number 2, and there will be always time for interactive sessions. Today we will have more time for those interactive sessions, and all the workshops will be on Tuesday from 2 to 3 p.m. CET, and we'll send the registration links after each session, so you can register for the next workshops, and you can share those links as well if you think interested party might want to join the following workshops. So today we focus on the initial diagnosis, which is step 1 of the ACT step-by-step approach, where a company assesses the maturity of its low carbon strategy. So for the initial diagnosis, the ACT step-by-step methodology suggests a tool that we will call the ACT Progress Grid, and it consists of a checklist including 30 to 40 questions that will cover indicators of an ACT assessment. And this ACT type of methodology will be generic and sector specific, and it will explore the various aspects of the company carbon strategy. So for example, below we added some progress grid questions, which could be about the current trend of the company carbon performance and its alignment with a low carbon transition trend. Question could be like, does my carbon strategy involve concrete actions toward my suppliers? Or does my carbon strategy involve low carbon R&D? Then for each question of that progress grid, we will associate a 5-level maturity matrix, which will inform where the company current practices stand compared to an ideal low carbon alignment. So therefore, during the initial diagnosis, the company set the question checklist according to its activities and select for each question a maturity level according to its current practice. So this is the illustration that you have below, the set of those 3 examples of questions with the 5 levels of maturity from basic to low carbon aligned. And in summary, the initial diagnosis is the first step of the ACT step-by-step methodology, and the progress grid, which we just discussed, is the tool used during this step. So we've got time for question and answer, and I think Edouard is going to look at your question in the chat box.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I can't see any question from the participants. Don't hesitate to tell me if I missed something. But maybe if we have a few minutes to come back to the link between in the ACT initiative between ACT assessment and ACT step-by-step. Could you clarify the link between those initiatives, and when is it relevant to do an ACT assessment, and when it is more relevant to do an ACT step-by-step approach?
Yes, sure. So basically, we think that the company maturity regarding low carbon strategy and low carbon topic in general is the key aspect of which of the ACT assessment or the ACT step-by-step methodology will apply. And if a company basically needs to structure, develop, and deploy a low carbon strategy that is ambitious and covers those 9 strategic levels, we think that the ACT step-by-step is the most relevant for that company. If a company already has a low carbon strategy, which is implemented and which is monitored like any strategy with an action plan, and then we think the ACT assessment is more relevant.
Thank you, Lisa. Another question from Olivier. Is this pure self-evaluation, or the consultant supporting the company needs to assess the real life in the company? I don't know if you want to answer, Lisa, or maybe Remy to complete the first answer from Lisa.
Yes, so that's about this self-evaluation or evaluation that is carried out by consultants. The idea, the principle of this initial diagnosis is that it is self-evaluation. It is not an assessment by a third party, and the third party assessment is the ACT assessment. But of course, the company can use a consultant in order to carry out the diagnosis together with it, in order to facilitate the process and contribute to answering the question. But this is, in essence, it is self-diagnosis, self-evaluation.
Okay, thank you, Remy. No other question from the participants for the moment. Just to clarify something, of course, all the questions and all the answers will be sent after the workshop in order for you to consult and to have all the details about that.
Okay, so I think maybe we can go to the second part of the workshop, the interactive session number 1. So Jennifer.
Yes, so I'll put on the chat box the link to join us on Klaxoon. I can see that many participants have already joined the activity, but if you didn't, please click on the link on the chat box. And we will start this interactive session with brainstorming. So you see how would you organize the initial diagnosis? You click on participate. And you can join the brainstorming. So our first question at the top of the board is what conditions have to be met to organize the diagnosis efficiently. So first thing you have to do when you enter the brainstorming is that you have to go at the bottom right of your board, click on move and select my IDs, and so you can add a post-it note and then resize it or move it around the board, on the board. So if you want to add an idea, you have to click on the bottom of the page on idea, and you can see that there are 5 colors for the post-it notes. So the red one would be more about when would you carry out the initial diagnosis. The yellow one would be how would you organize this diagnosis. The green one is who would you involve into this diagnosis. The blue one, post-it notes, would be about the potential prerequisites for the diagnosis. And finally, if you have other ideas or other aspects that you think should be taken into account in this initial diagnosis, please put it on a purple post-it note. If you have any trouble with Klaxoon, don't hesitate to send a message through the Zoom chat box. And
yeah.
Sorry.
No, just to mention that I am sharing my screen. I was a bit late, so I caught up. And so you can also check you are at the right place now and see what actions have to be done.
So we can see the first ideas of the participants about the when would you carry out the diagnosis. Someone suggests that it would be at the beginning of a quarter. About the potential prerequisites, we have at least a partial footprint carbon analysis. About the who would be involved, we have all levels of the personnel of the company. I add something. If you think an idea is particularly relevant, you can double click on it, even if it's not your Post-it note, and add a like to this. It would be a heart. Yes, I see that some participants have already found it. And please move your Post-its in the right corner, depending on the color and the topic you're contributing on.
And do not hesitate to give ideas, even though the propositions you are making are valid only for your own organization or for your feedback experience that might not be fully representative. We are really keen on your feedback. Not hesitate to contribute to how you would organize the diagnosis. It's an important point for us. It's in the yellow part of the screen. Meeting, short-term process. What do you think it would demand in terms of organization? So this is also interesting to us.
Yes, and I would add that if someone already put your idea on a Post-it note, please just like the Post-it notes instead of adding a new one with the same idea on it. And if you see other aspects that should be taken into account, don't hesitate to put it on a purple Post-it note. Maybe something we didn't think about. And I think we will have 2 more minutes on this brainstorming. So the general ideas about the when, we have 2 Post-it notes about it doesn't matter or anytime. Beginning of a quarter, I already said it, at the beginning of the year, after a carbon footprint. So we have some Post-it notes with the same ideas. I put it together. About the people involved, we have a household team, or an idea was also to involve a consultation with other stakeholders, such as NGOs, for instance, to hear another expertise. About the how, we have on site with people interacting with each other, face-to-face meeting, naming a coordinator to start, meetings or interviews to collect qualitative answer, and the prerequisite, carbon footprint, awareness of the board, of course. I move your Post-it if they are with the same idea. Willingness of transparency and transformation of the company, clear engagement from the top management. And about the other aspects, we have the level of effort should be accounted for to make sure the method doesn't overwhelm users. And the actual communication of the company concerning climate and environment. Another aspect that should be taken into account is the availability of a specific solution for a country. Yeah, we have many ideas. So now maybe stop adding new Post-it notes. Just have a look at the different Post-it notes, and maybe you can add a like to the ideas that you think are particularly relevant.
Thank you everyone for your contribution. I was just wondering if, for example, someone put it availability of a specific solution for a country. I wonder if that could be explained a little bit further. Maybe if the person who put that post note can explain it either in the chat box or maybe add a comment to that post note. Jennifer, I don't know what the best way to specify, for example, a post note that might be.
Yeah, participants can modify their own Post-it notes. So maybe you can directly modify it, or you can add another one just next to it.
I was wondering if that person meant like a specific tool, specific resources.
Well, we don't know. Maybe this person can add some more details on the Zoom chat, if it's okay. And now we can move to the second brainstorming. So please don't touch your screen anymore, and I will synchronize my screen so you can go to the second question, which is what should be the main step-by-step progress grid features that would help make the diagnosis more efficient? We already suggested some ideas just to start the brainstorming. Same as previously, you just have to click on idea and add a Post-it note. You can choose the color of your choice. Please don't move the elements that are already on the screen. The color is not important at this stage. The colors were for the first question. Now you can just write on Post-it notes in whatever color you want. So we suggested already an idea about the possibility of being accessible to multiple contributors at the same time. So maybe an online grid. If it's an idea that you think is relevant, you can add a like on the post notes, just like we did before. And we can see that many ideas are coming, visible indicators, a justification for each answer, sample responses for each question. Do you have any more ideas about the different features? Have an automatic benchmark answers. I think yes, it goes with the sample responses for each question. The necessity to answer to each question. No pick and choose. Okay.
We have a question on the chat from Jeremy Kennel, who asks, on a technical standpoint, is there a set of tools provided in order to realize this self-assessment? So yes, indeed, this is what Lisa was calling the progress grid in the first part of the presentation. And the idea is that this initial diagnosis will be carried out using this progress grid that is composed of a set of questions. And this progress grid will clearly be a tool, software tool that might have various formats, and we would like to hear what you think of the best format for it, and of which the content is not fully fixed today. So we are really pleased to have your feedback on ideas and ideas on what it could include indeed.
Yes, we were wondering, we suggested an online grid, but we were wondering if it was the best solution, or maybe with an Excel sheet or another software. If you have any idea about that, don't hesitate to put it on the board. Okay, so maybe if we don't have any more ideas about the features, please just take a minute to have a look at the different ideas and add a like if you think an idea is interesting. And we will go to the next activity in a few seconds. I see that in the chat box, someone suggested that the tool should be affordable. So you can maybe put it on a Post-it note directly on the board.
Yeah, I think it's a good suggestion as well, to think about, the commercialization of that kind of tool. What kind of, I don't know, licensing model, or it's a good suggestion. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we will end this activity and go to the next one, which is survey about the lead to run the auto diagnosis. So the first question is, who in your company would be the right person to initially run or coordinate the auto diagnosis? And we suggested 3 main answers: a non-specialist employee specifically appointed for the project, specialist, whether sustainability, environment, carbon specialist, a member of the board of directors, or another person. And if you tick the box other, you will have to specify in the next question who you think should lead the auto diagnosis. So please choose an answer, and then you have to scroll down and to submit your answer. And if you didn't tick the other box in the first question, you can just skip the second one without adding any comment.
You need to scroll down quite low in order to be able to validate your second question.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can see that almost half of the participants have submitted the answers. So who in your company should initially run or coordinate the auto diagnosis? We're waiting a few seconds more. If you have any trouble accessing the activity, don't hesitate to ask a question on the chat box.
We have a question from Marine Pouget, because she's not a company, but she asked if she can give an opinion or not for this question.
Yeah, you can give your opinion even if you're not from a company. Who do you think should run the auto-diagnosis in a company in general, whether it's a non-specialist, a specialist, or a member of directors? Thank you for your question. And I can see there are more comments on the chat box. Is this for our company as it is today, or is it a general question? If you're from a company, it's more in your company, but you can also give a general question if you think it's not applicable to your company today. Okay, so thank you. We will end this activity, and Remy will share the results on his screen. So you have to go back to the Zoom page, but don't close the Klaxoon webpage because we will be back on Klaxoon in a few minutes.
So we have 50% of the persons who said, of the participants who said that it should be a specialist. 1/3 who said that it should be a member of the board of directors, and 13% non-specialist employee. Only 6% think it should be someone else. And we have a few, it's me. We have only 2 votes for the other, and yeah, so not much additional info in this other checkbox.
Thank you, Remy. So now we will be back to the presentation. But don't close the Klaxoon webpage because we will be back on Klaxoon again after Remy presented some elements about the progress grid.
Yes, so let me change my screen share. And then back to the presentation. Yes, can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. So a few words about a few more words than during the first workshop on the step-by-step process and monitoring. In order to ask you some more questions about this. So as we said previously, the step-by-step process is composed of 6 steps that you have here in a column, and each step consists of a few concrete actions or expected achievements. By the way, let's quickly go through them. Current situation is the initial diagnosis, so you will first configure the progress grid as for your company, and then auto-evaluate your company strategy maturity to date. So this is the initial diagnosis. Then the second step is a step of analysis of the existing situation. So you will first assess the carbon performance of your organization and carry out a strategic analysis, a more qualitative strategic analysis of the current strategy, carbon strategy of your company, in order to have this, let's say, relevant vision of the state of the art in your company of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for your company in the context of the climate change and low carbon transition. So this strategic analysis carried out in step 2 is the basis for the design of a long-term vision in step 3, and from now to this long-term vision, the building of a transition roadmap. So this is step 3. Step 4 is the design of the strategy itself, when you will choose strategic orientations and objectives. And additionally to these more qualitative objectives, you will set potentially carbon performance targets and let's say decompose your strategic orientation and objectives into a more detailed strategic plan. Step 5 is the conversion of your strategy into a concrete action plan, where you will identify some concrete actions, assess these actions in order to select the best ones, and therefore structure a concrete action plan for your company. And step 6 will be the implementation of this strategy and action plan. So you will implement the action plan and the strategy, manage them, and monitor them along the way. So this is the full process in 6 steps that we have for act step by step, six steps and around 15 actions. To all these actions, the company will progressively build a better response to each question of the checklist that you are using for the initial diagnosis. And all these actions that you go through along the process, by the way, they involve quite different strategic levels. As you could see, as we already presented during workshop 1, we have used the classification of 4 strategic levels: governance, strategy, low carbon transition management, and metrics and target, which is strongly inspired from the classification of the TCFD recommendations, and is quite relevant for act step by step. So once you have these 4 levels, you can simply represent the same actions on a table that uses the steps and the strategic levels. And here, the same actions have only been reorganized along this process map. Each of these actions contributes to building a better answer to one or more questions of the initial checklist. And for example, board training here will contribute to improve the response to the question: are the members of the board fully aware of the climate change challenge and potential consequences on the business and operations? For example, carbon performance assessment will allow to respond to the question: is the current trend of my carbon performance aligned with the low carbon transition trend? The board commitment will answer the question: what is the level of the carbon strategy oversight in the organization? And so on. So for each action, you have a few questions on which you will prepare a better answer. In fact, each question of the initial diagnosis can be positioned on the process map, depending on the step and on the strategic level where it will be addressed. Okay, so all these indices represent associated questions. So these questions will appear on the map, but except for 2 steps. In fact, for step 1 is an initial diagnosis. So basically, during the initial diagnosis, you will go through all the questions at once, the same questions that you will find again during steps 2 to 5. Okay, and during step 6, in fact, what you are doing is that you are implementing everything that you have prepared during steps 2 to 5. Step 6 is a step of implementation. So all the questions will concentrate between steps 2 to step 5. In practice, during the process, when the company enters a new step, it will face new questions and will prepare an improved response to each of them during this step. And the actual implementation will occur during step 6, as we said. For each question, the new ambition that is set during the corresponding step will be recorded on the maturity matrix. So the questions checklist that was used for the initial diagnosis, effectively becomes a progress grid. And the company will use the grid to monitor the improvement of the carbon strategy, question by question, along the 6 steps of the process. There are around, I think we didn't say that, but there are more or less 30 to 40 questions, both in the initial diagnosis and then along the way from steps 2 to step 5. That cover basically all the subjects that you need to address when designing your new strategy. And I am done for this second part of the presentation.
Thank you, Remy. We have time for 1 or 2 questions. The first one is from Benjamin Carras. Does the step 2 include a complete GIG assessment, including all the scopes, or can we have a simply and a rough estimation of GIG emission? Maybe it could be interesting to have your vision, Lisa, on that. And after Remy, if you want to complete, do not hesitate.
Yeah, thank you, Edouard. Thank you, Benjamin, for the question. I think definitely you need you can't design and structure an ambitious strategy if you don't have a full scope 3 GIG footprint assessment. I think it would be you might miss some crucial challenges, and then designing a strategy and action plan based on rough estimate or rough carbon footprints might become detrimental in the long run. So I would say you need the full package, basically.
Indeed, there are 2 ways to see it, and well, this still needs to be let's say investigated and decided, but the scope 3 GIG assessment may be carried out during the process after the initial diagnosis, or because you need it for the rest of the process, or it may also be a prerequisite to enter into the process.
And I think maybe just to add on that's basically depending on the activity of the company, scope 3 might be absolutely needed for that strategy, low carbon strategy. So yeah.
Okay, thanks for the answers. I can't see any other question on this part, and maybe in order to leave time to do another interactive session, we can go through it now if you're okay with that.
Yes.
Maybe just Remy, if you can introduce for the next question about the implementation of the 6-step process in the strategic cycle.
Yes, while I'm changing screen same time, and yes, what we want to address now is a question that we have. Of course, we have designed Act step by step, and we think companies should use it in order to develop their low carbon strategy. What we would like to have as a feedback from you is your opinion on the fact that this Act step by step will be easy to integrate into the strategic process of your company or of the companies that you know. To what extent Act step by step can be used in order to be integrated into the strategic process of the company. This is a question that we have. We have these 6 steps, and of course, we understand that a company does not design its strategy today necessarily with these 6 steps. So we want to imagine how we could, to what extent it is a problem for the use of Act Step by Step, and how we maximize the ability of Act Step by Step to adapt to the strategic process of the company.
Yes.
So thus this question number 3.
Yes, thanks for the introduction. So we will be back on Klaxoon with the same link as previously. So I put it again on the chat box, but it's the same web page. And you can see the next question is, to what extent would your company be able to integrate the ACT step-by-step 6 steps into its strategic cycle? And if you're not part of a company, just think about the company you work with or you know, and how easy it would be to implement this. So from 1 star, which means the methodology does not fit a company's strategic cycle, to 5 stars. And a participant suggested that of course, the strategy, the 6-step methodology could become the strategy itself, because it's difficult to run 2 strategies in parallel. So in this case, I would say it would be a 5 stars if you see that the 6-step methodology can become the strategy.
Yes, so in this case, the idea is that the Act step-by-step structure would be an opportunity for the company to adopt a new strategic cycle, which is a possibility indeed.
Mm. So we don't have half of the answers for the moment. Don't hesitate if you have any question or trouble with Klaxoon to send us a message via the Zoom chat box. And in the question you can see we put the image of the 6 steps, again, in case you're not familiar with it.
Okay, and so this is the first question. Please choose between 1 star to 5 stars in order to evaluate to what extent this step-by-step can be adapted to a company's strategic cycle. And after that initial question, that is a simple score, we will ask you more details about that.
Yes, the next activity will be a brainstorming again about the potential difficulties to integrate the 6 steps methodology into your strategic cycle, and the potential solutions to help implementing the strategy. So I'll end the survey. Maybe Remy, you can comment on the results.
Yes, with pleasure. Okay. So I don't know if this is a good or a bad result. It's not a question of being good or bad, but basically, in general, you seem to consider that the Act step-by-step will be able to adapt quite well to the company's strategic cycle, because the average is 4.3 out of 5. And we have only 1% out of 5, more or less, who gave only 3 stars, and nobody under 3. So apparently you think it's quite possible, but we're going to get into more details.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm just wondering if there's a reason why there's a few votes comparing to the number of people using Klaxoon. So just wondering if yeah, we why people didn't vote. It is really important for us to have your views. So, and if you've got comments, you know, something more specific that you want to explain, do not hesitate just to use the chat box as well. Maybe if the question wasn't clear, or if you wanted to provide more explanation rather than just answering, yeah, just use the chat box.
Yes, you're right. I can see many participants are not on the klaxon at the moment. So if you have any trouble, don't hesitate to tell us. Or if you want to add something or write something, use the chat box. Thank you. So we will go to the final activity today. So just like we did before, your first step is to click on the bottom right of your board on Move and select My IDs and. So you can add your Post-it notes, resize them, and move them on the board. And we divided this board in two parts. The first at the top is about the potential difficulties or problem that you could face to integrate the 6-step cycle into your company strategic cycle. So it may be an opportunity for the people who just rated 3 stars at the previous question, for instance, to explain the potential difficulties. And the second part of the board at the bottom would be to suggest some solutions to solve these problems. So maybe the people who rated 5 stars at the previous question can I don't know, bring solutions, potential solutions to the difficulties. So if you want to, if you're thinking about a difficulty, please use the yellow Post-it note and put a red one just below if you can think about a potential solution. The first idea we can see is about changing the production mode of the company. We also have a board engagement, understanding by the company that transition to low carbon means align the strategy to their low carbon one. Lack of human resources, no formalized strategic process in the company. Change partners, find new alliances. I think that's a solution, maybe. If it's a solution, please put it in green Post-it notes and on the solution part. Yes, thank you. We have some potential problems and difficulties. So now don't hesitate to think about the potential solutions that could be relevant. We have sensibilization again and again about what's at stake, board and staff. Training, I think it's quite the same idea. Strong awareness rising for the board before starting the act step by step. So it's same group of ideas. Maybe for the one who put the no formalized strategic process in the company, maybe the 6-step act step-by-step process would be an opportunity to have a formalized strategic process.
Let me add it.
as a difficulty, we can see also that it might reduce the comfort at workplace to a certain degree. I'm not sure what it's about. So if you want to add something to clarify, don't hesitate. The expectation of accountability on climate, which could be new for the company. As we did before, if you think that ideas are particularly relevant for you, don't hesitate to add a like on the Post-it note. You have to double click on it and click on the heart. And we will end this brainstorming in about 1 minute. The company may be afraid to spend money. Yes. Okay.
Yes, great.
So
great contributions. Thank you, everyone, for all these points of view. They are really helping us. Because this number of ideas, objections, etc., is really helping us identify problems and try to imagine solutions. So it's really great to us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We will end this activity, and the interactive session is over. So you'll have the opportunity to give your feedback about this workshop, whether about the presentation or the interactive sessions on Klaxoon. So you can rate and leave some comments for this workshop if you want. Thank you, everyone.
Yep, thank you, everyone. I can see that a few of you have to leave just now, and we're sorry we just run a bit over time. We really value your participation in the interactive session, so thank you very much. And we will gather all your comments and feedback, and those will form part of the content of the last workshop number 8, when we will present the methodology and the toolboxes. So then you can see, you know, how your contribution were taken into account. So thank you very much. We will share the slides and the video of this webinar with you by email. Do not forget that our next workshop will be in 2 weeks' time on Tuesday the 13th, and we will focus on the carbon performance resources need. So again, there will be time for those interactive sessions, and we will be looking for your feedback and your use of resources for assessing and investigating carbon performance within your organization. So looking forward to see you again, and please do not hesitate to invite other interested parties by sharing the invitation to those workshops. Yeah, I think that's everything from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.